Globalization is defined in our textbook as the process of expanding and intensifying linkages between states, societies, and economies. For the most part, I have reaped the benefits of globalization. These benefits have included being able to purchase goods throughout my life, toys, clothes, and technology, at lower prices, being able to travel around the world and form and maintain bonds with others who, in the past, may not have been part of my social circle, and finally an increase in international information which I might have lost out on being exposed to had I been from an older generation that had lacked open access to mediums such as the internet. However, that is not to say that I have not experienced the consequences of globalization directly within my own life. Some of these consequences have included the loss of friends with the war on terror, the increased security measures that I have had to deal with when traveling, and the observance of family members resulting to xenophobia because of the misunderstanding and perpetuated fear by certain politicians of those from other countries. The first benefit that I mentioned was the ability to purchase goods throughout my life at lower prices than if they had been made within the United States. In this sense, offshore outsourcing, or the process by which a firm moves some of its work to a secondary business outside the home country that can do the work more efficiently or cheaply, has led me to be able to purchase items that would be outrageously priced if every aspect of it was done within this country. One of the highest priced purchases that I have made in my life, my 2011 Chevrolet Camaro, is an example of this. While Chevy typically plays up America in their advertisements, my specific Camaro has little actual attachment to this country, besides General Motors being an American multinational corporation that is headquartered in Detroit, Michigan. The design of my specific Camaro actually came out of Australia. The parts come from all over the world, and the car itself, being a fifth generation Camaro, was fully assembled not in Detroit but in Ontario, Canada. While I have personally benefited from offshore outsourcing, I have also indirectly caused harm through such purchases. Lower regulations and wages plague other countries and their laborers, where my products have been manufactured before being imported to others and myself in the United States. The outsourcing of labor to other countries has also had an obvious effect on some of those within the United States, and this was personally apparent in 2016 when attempting to sell a family home back in Kansas, where Alstom Power, a heating equipment manufacturer and the only large company within the town, had just laid off numerous workers due to outsourcing. This led to the aforementioned family home being on the market for much longer than was initially anticipated, as the town had lost its appeal for laborers and their families to move to. The second benefit of globalization in my life has been the ability to create and maintain international friendships through the means of social media. This has allowed me to form relationships based upon common interest rather than a national identity. Take my Brazilian friend Alan, for example. We met at a concert, and it has been our common interest in that specific artist that has led us to be great friends rather than being focused on where we come from. However, I do acknowledge some of the potential consequences of globalized connection through mediums such as social media, like when looking at the easier ability of groups like ISIS to spread their propaganda for potential recruitment of members from all over the world. The final personal benefit of globalization has been the increase in accessible information through mediums like the internet that generations before me did not have access to. This information has made it easier to learn about the world, and it has expanded my personal mindset to a global level, rather than being small-minded about the world around me like so many of those I grew up with in Kansas. The negative effect of globalization that has most directly affected me has been the loss of friends who have served in the military, with the attempted spread of democracy to areas that may not have been ready for such a process to be implemented, and the proclaimed war on terror that began after the September 11th attacks. My life has also been directly affected by the security measures that have increased in airports, on cruises, and even potentially when using technology due to those attacks. Indirect consequences from those attacks and others have been politicians being able to sway voters' opinions by using fear tactics, promising walls and travel bans, along with using the loss of jobs nationally that I previously mentioned to further their political gain. The final consequence of globalization that has personally affected me has been the divide that has been created between myself, some of my family members, and friends over our social and political views. The idea that was mentioned in the textbook, that it is possible that globalization overwhelms people with innumerable choices, values, ideas, and information, that they are unable to understand, evaluate, or escape, was apparent to me growing up in the Midwest, where 99.9% of the population was white. They feared and tormented those they did not understand, such as a close friend whose family came from China. While this was on a small scale, I can see it being true for the global scale as well, as we have seen an increase in nationalism and xenophobia within this country that has, in some cases, been blamed on globalization. Finally, the negative and positive externalities that exist because of globalization and have had some primarily indirect impact on my life have been the exponential rise of climate change, the wars that have been fought due to natural resource access, the potential promotion of peace and global democracy through interconnection, and the rise of multiculturalism. As the world continues to become more connected and globalization remains to be a huge part of not only my own but everyone's lives, I have hope that it has the potential to lead to a better and overall more peaceful world. But as it is a constantly evolving process, only time will tell.